This case literally broke 5 days ago, and almost nobody's talking about it yet. A former WWE wrestler was executed on a dark Arkansas highway just 72 hours after his divorce was finalized. Kevin Knuckles, who wrestled as Knuckles Madsen in WWE NXT, was shot by his ex-wife's new boyfriend while she watched. The divorce papers weren't even a week old. Now, both Amanda Penny and Michael Hogue are behind bars on murder charges. The evidence? Tesla surveillance showing blood on the killer before the shooting even happened. Kevin's dying words naming his murderer, and the most reckless threat you've ever heard, made directly to a cop's face minutes before the killing. This is the Kevin Knuckles case. How does a high school romance end in a highway execution 3 days after divorce? Subscribe to Crazy Crime Lures to find out. Kevin Knuckles was 41 and living his wrestling dream. He'd made it to WWE NXT in 2012, performing as Knuckles Madsen on national television. Not everyone gets to wrestle for WWE. Kevin did. After his WWE run ended in 2013, he didn't quit the business. He reinvented himself as Ivan Warsaw on the independent circuit. But here's what made Kevin different. He opened Ozark Mountain Wrestling in Rogers, Arkansas. Not just another wrestling school, a place that welcomed everyone. Young kids starting out, wrestlers with disabilities, anyone who wanted to learn the sport. Kevin built a community. Kevin had a son. According to his mother, Susan Kinderman, that little boy was everything to Kevin, the center of his world. Long days training wrestlers, running shows, building his business. It all came back to being there for his kid. Kevin's marriage to Amanda Penny had been a high school sweetheart story. They met in 2000 when Kevin's family moved to Rogers. Young love that turned into marriage. For years, they were solid. Then Kevin's wrestling career created distance. He'd take jobs requiring him to be gone for 2 weeks at a time. Travel, shows, training. The distance broke them. July 8th, 2025. That's when their divorce was finalized. Years of marriage. From high school through WWE through building Ozark Mountain Wrestling. Ended with signatures on legal documents. Kevin had his son, his wrestling school, his freedom. He was 41 years old, moving forward with his life after a failed marriage. Would he even survive the week? Amanda Penny was 40 years old and already moved on. Too fast. While she was still legally married to Kevin, she'd started seeing Michael Hogue. By the time the divorce finalized on July 8th, Hogue wasn't just her boyfriend. He was living at her house in Rogers, Arkansas. Michael Hogue was 51 years old with a criminal record. Court documents show he'd been in trouble before. At his bond hearing 5 days ago, prosecutors specifically mentioned his criminal history as justification for the massive bail they wanted. Here's what makes this twisted. The divorce was finalized July 8th. Kevin was shot July 11th. 3 days. That's how long it took for the situation to turn deadly. Amanda had completely moved on while Kevin was still adjusting to being divorced. She had a new man in her house. A new man willing to make threats. A new man willing to kill. What kind of person goes from high school sweetheart to accomplish the murder? Amanda Penny met Kevin as a teenager. They built a life together. Then she watched her new boyfriend shoot him on a highway. The relationship between Kevin, Amanda, and Hogue was a powder keg. All it needed was a spark. Kevin and Amanda met in 2000. High school romance. They got married. Stayed together through Kevin's entire wrestling career. WWE, independent circuit, all of it. Susan Kinderman describes him as genuinely happy for years. But wrestling took Kevin away for weeks at a time. The cracks started showing. By 2025, the marriage was over. July 8th, 2025. Divorce finalized. Kevin was legally free. Amanda already had Michael Hogue living with her. 3 days later, everything exploded. July 11th, evening. Amanda called police. She claimed Kevin broke into her home and vandalized her property. A Benton County Sheriff's deputy responded to take the report. Here's where it gets insane. When the deputy arrived, Michael Hogue was at Amanda's house, and Hogue said something directly to that deputy. Court documents quote him, because Kevin disrespected Amanda, You know what I'm going to do, right? Read that again. Hogue told a law enforcement officer, to his face, that he was going to retaliate against Kevin. The deputy was standing right there hearing this threat. Minutes before Kevin was shot, the deputy took the vandalism report and left. What happened next occurred almost immediately after that patrol car drove away. According to prosecutor Josh Robinson, Kevin met up with Hogue and Amanda after the alleged vandalism incident. Susan Kinderman believes they lured him there. There was some kind of an argument. Maybe there was texting going back and forth. I think they enticed Kevin to meet up with them. Why would Kevin show up? Was he trying to defend himself against a vandalism accusation? Did Amanda or Hogue tell him they wanted to talk? Whatever brought Kevin to that spot near East Highway 12 in Rogers, it was a setup. Robinson stated Kevin was shot following an argument between all three of them. Kevin, Amanda, and Hogue were all present when it went down. The argument escalated. Kevin standing there with his ex-wife and her new boyfriend. Then Hogue pulled a gun and fired. Michael Hogue shot Kevin Knuckles at close range. The bullet ripped into Kevin's abdomen, but Kevin didn't drop. He was a wrestler, tough, trained, fighting to survive. Kevin wrestled the gun away from Hogue. Think about that. Shot in the stomach, bleeding. And Kevin still managed to take the weapon from his attacker. He wanted to live. But Kevin was badly hurt. The gunshot wound was serious. He needed help. So he started walking toward East Highway 12, trying to flag down a car. Just after midnight, a driver heading down East Highway 12 saw something horrifying. A man standing in the middle of the road, bleeding, waving for help. That man was Kevin Knuckles. The driver stopped. Kevin was conscious, and he told that driver exactly what happened. He identified Michael Hogue as the shooter. Not an accident, not self-defense. Kevin said Hogue shot him. Other drivers stopped. Multiple Good Samaritans trying to help. Kevin told every single person the same thing. Michael Hogue shot me. Police arrived within minutes. Kevin was still alive, still talking, and he told the officers what he'd told the civilians. Michael Hogue was a shooter. Those were Kevin's dying declarations. Standing on a highway, bleeding out, Kevin used his final moments to identify his killer. Would his words be enough? Emergency responders worked on him, but the abdominal wound was too severe. Kevin Knuckles died on East Highway 12. Former WWE wrestler, father, business owner, dead on the side of a highway because his ex-wife boyfriend decided he was a problem. Where were Amanda Penny and Michael Hogue while Kevin died? They were back at Amanda's residence, and surveillance cameras were recording everything. Detectives had a dead victim who named his killer, 2 obvious suspects, and a crime scene. But dying words aren't enough for conviction. They needed physical proof. Here's where Hogue screwed up. Surveillance footage from Amanda Penny's residence showed Hogue with what appeared to be blood on multiple parts of his body. And this was in the minutes before the deputy even arrived for the vandalism call. Before Kevin was officially shot. Blood already on him. How do you explain that? Detectives executed a search warrant on Amanda's home. They found blood near the front door. They collected it. They pulled all surveillance footage from the property. Then investigators interviewed Michael Hogue. And like so many killers, he tried to lie his way out. Hogue's story. He and Kevin met at the bottom of the hill after the vandalism incident. They were wrestling around when the gun accidentally went off. Just an accident. He thought it fired twice. Wrestling around with a loaded gun. That just went off into Kevin's abdomen. Sure, detectives didn't believe a word. Because here's the problem. Kevin had the gun when he walked to the highway. Kevin took it from Hogue. How do you wrestle around with someone and they end up with your gun after you shot them? The story made zero sense. Plus, Kevin told multiple witnesses Hogue shot him deliberately. Not an accident. Not wrestling. Kevin said Hogue shot him. But the most powerful evidence? Kevin's dying declarations to multiple witnesses. In Arkansas, when someone knows they're dying and identifies their killer, that testimony carries massive weight in court. Kevin told the first driver, Michael Hogue shot me. He told other Good Samaritans the same thing. He told police the same thing. Multiple witnesses, multiple statements, all consistent. all identifying Hogue. Prosecutor Josh Robinson reviewed everything. Surveillance showing blood on Hogue before the shooting, blood at Amanda's door, Kevin's dying declarations, Hogue's impossible accident story, and the fact that Amanda was present during the argument leading to the shooting. The case built itself. According to prosecutors, Amanda Penny wasn't just watching. She was working in concert with Hogue. She was there. She was involved. And in Arkansas, accomplice to murder is functionally the same as murder itself. Kevin died July 11th. Investigators spent 4 months building the case. Then on November 17, 2025, 5 days ago, U.S. Marshals made their arrests. November 17, 2025, 5 days ago, U.S. Marshals arrested Michael Hogue on first-degree murder charges. They arrested Amanda Penny on accomplice to first-degree murder charges. Both also got hit with firearm possession charges. The bond hearing on November 19th showed how serious prosecutors are. Michael Hogue, $750,000 bail. Why so high? Criminal history plus the fact he allegedly executed an unarmed man. The judge agreed $750,000 or stay in jail. Amanda Penny, $500,000 bail. Still massive. She wasn't the shooter, but prosecutors say she worked with Hogue. In Arkansas, accomplice to murder carries the same weight as murder. Same classification. Same potential sentence. Here's where it gets weird. At the bond hearing, Amanda's public defender told the court she's 7 months pregnant. 7 months. Carrying a child while facing murder charges for allegedly helping kill her ex-husband. Did the pregnancy reduce her bail? No. The judge acknowledged it, but didn't change the amount. Prosecutor Joshua Robinson explained Arkansas jails have systems for prenatal care, delivery, and postnatal care for incarcerated women. Being pregnant doesn't exempt you from murder charges. Both defendants' next court date is January 5th, 2026. That's when we'll learn what evidence prosecutors plan to present. The evidence against them is overwhelming. Kevin's dying declarations to multiple witnesses. Surveillance showing blood on Hogue before the shooting. Blood evidence at Amanda's house. Hogue's impossible wrestling accident story. Timeline showing this happened minutes after a deputy left Amanda's home. Hogue's direct threat to the deputy about Kevin. What defense do they even have? Self-defense won't work. Kevin was unarmed and dying. Accident won't work. Kevin's dying words contradict it. The evidence is crushing. Will they take a plea? Or will this go to trial where a jury hears about a WWE wrestler shot 3 days after his divorce? Right now, November 2025, both Michael Hogue and Amanda Penny sit in jail. Hogue behind $750,000 bail. Penny behind $500,000 bail. 7 months pregnant. Kevin Nichols' son grows up without a father. A kid who was the center of Kevin's world now has to live knowing his mom's boyfriend murdered his dad. Susan Kinderman, Kevin's mother, is fighting for justice. She believes Amanda and Hogue lured Kevin to that spot. She wants people to know Kevin wasn't just a victim. He was a father, a business owner, someone who built a wrestling school to help others chase their dreams. Ozark Mountain Wrestling continues operating. The wrestling community has rallied around Kevin's memory. Wrestlers who trained under him posted tributes. Independent wrestling shows held moments of silence. But here's the haunting question. Could this have been prevented? The deputy who responded to Amanda's house heard Hogue make a threat about Kevin. Because Kevin disrespected Amanda, you know what I'm going to do, right? That was minutes before Kevin was shot. Could that deputy have intervened differently? The divorce was finalized July 8th. Kevin was shot July 11th. 3 days. Was this murder planned from the moment the divorce papers were signed? Or was it spontaneous rage? Next court date, January 5th, 2026. That's when we'll learn if either defendant considers a plea deal or if this goes to trial. If convicted, both face decades in prison. Hogue could die behind bars. Amanda could give birth in custody and raise her child from a cell. But no sentence brings Kevin back. No prison time gives his son a father. The consequences of July 11th are permanent. Kevin survived WWE, survived the brutal independent wrestling circuit. built a business from scratch, raised a son, and what killed him? His ex-wife's jealousy and her boyfriend's violence. 3 days after he finally got free, this case broke 5 days ago when those arrests went down. Details are still emerging. Investigation continues. As we approach January, more evidence will surface. But the facts are clear. Kevin's dying words identified his killer. Multiple witnesses heard him. Surveillance backed it up. Blood evidence confirmed the timeline. Michael Hogue and Amanda Penny are facing justice for what they allegedly did. The question is whether they'll admit it or force Kevin's family to relive his death in court. This is why I hunt these stories the second they break. The details are too insane to wait. Former WWE wrestler executed by his ex 3 days post-divorce? Blood on surveillance before the shooting? A threat made to a cop's face minutes before murder? Nobody else is covering this yet. If you want cases this fresh, this twisted, before anyone else has them, smash that subscribe button. Kevin Knuckles deserved better. His son deserved better. And justice is coming.